And thank you for joining us for Grim Advice with Gretta Myers. You've entered the grimoire. Let's turn the page together. That sounded really creepy. I'm sorry. Okay, without further ado, a story you've actually heard of, Rapunzel. There were once a man and a woman who had long in vain wished for a child. At length, the woman hoped that God was about to grant her desire. These people had a little window at the back of their house from which a splendid garden could be seen, which was full of the most beautiful flowers and herbs. It was, however, surrounded by a high wall, and no one dared to go into it because it belonged to an enchantress named Dame Gothel, who had great power and was dreaded by all the world. One day the woman was standing by this window and looked down into the garden, when she saw a bed which was planted with the most beautiful rampion, Rapunzel, and it looked so fresh and green that she longed for it and the greatest desire to eat some. This desire increased every day, and as she knew that she could not get any of it, she quite pined away and looked pale and miserable. Then her husband was alarmed and asked, "What ails you, dear wife?" She replied, "If I can't get some of the rampion which is in the garden behind our house, I shall die." The man who loved her thought, "Sooner than let your wife die, bring her some of the rampion yourself, let it cost you what it will." In the twilight of the evening, he clambered down over the wall into the garden of the enchantress, and hastily clutched a handful of rampion and took it to his wife. She at once made herself a salad of it, and ate it with much delight. She, however, liked it so very much, that the next day she longed for it 3 times as much as before. If he was to have any rest, her husband must once more descend into the garden. In the gloom of evening, therefore, he let himself down again, but when he had clambered down the wall, he was terribly afraid, for he saw the enchantress standing before him. "How can you dare," she said with an angry look, "to descend into my garden and steal my rampion like a thief? You shall suffer for it." "Ah," answered he, "let mercy take the place of justice. I only made up my mind to do it out of necessity. My wife saw your rampion from the window, and felt such a longing for it that she would have died if she had not got some of it to eat." Then the enchantress allowed her anger to be softened, and said to him, "If the case be as you say, I will allow you to take with you as much rampion as you will. Only I make one condition. You must give me the child which your wife will bring into the world. It shall be well treated, and I will care for it like a mother." The man in his terror consented to everything, and when the woman gave birth, the enchantress appeared at once, gave the child the name of Rapunzel, and took it away with her. Rapunzel grew into the most beautiful child beneath the sun. When she was 12 years old, the enchantress shut her into a tower, which lay in a forest, and had neither stairs nor door, and quite at the top was a little window. Then the enchantress wanted to go in. She placed herself beneath it and cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair to me." Rapunzel had magnificent long hair, fine as spun gold, and when she heard the voice of the enchantress, she unfastened her braided tresses, wound them round one of the hooks of the window above, and then the hair fell 20 ells down, and the enchantress climbed up by it. After a year or two, it came to pass that the king's son rode through the forest and went by the tower. Then he heard a song which was so charming that he stood still and listened. This was Rapunzel, who in her solitude passed her time in letting her sweet voice resound. The king's son wanted to climb up to her and looked for the door of the tower, but none was to be found. He rode home, but the singing had so deeply touched his heart that every day he went out into the forest and listened to it. Once, when he was thus standing behind a tree, he saw that an enchantress came there, and he heard how she cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Then Rapunzel let down the braids of her hair, and the enchantress climbed up to her. "If that is the ladder by which one mounts, I will at once try my fortune," said he. And the next day, when it began to grow dark, he went to the tower and cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Immediately the hair fell down, and the king's son climbed up. At first Rapunzel was terribly frightened when a man, such as her eyes had never yet beheld, came to her, but the king's son began to talk quite like a friend, and told her that his heart had been so stirred that it had let him have no rest, and he had been forced to see her. Then Rapunzel lost her fear. When he asked her if she would take him for her husband, and she saw that he was young and handsome. She thought, he will love me more than old Dame Gothel does. And she said, and laid her hand in his. She said, she said, yes, and laid her hand in his. She said, I will willingly go away with you, but I do not know how to get down. Bring with you a skein of silk every time you come, and I will weave a ladder with it, and when that is ready I will descend, and you will take me on your horse. They agreed that until that time he should come to her every evening, for the old woman came by day. The enchantress remarked nothing of this, until once Rapunzel said to her, Tell me, Dame Gothel, how it happens that you are so much heavier for me to draw up than the young king's son. He is with me in hardly a minute. Ah, you wicked child, cried the enchantress. What do I hear you say? I thought I had separated you from all the world, and yet you have deceived me. In her anger, she clutched Rapunzel's beautiful tresses, wrapped them twice around her left hand, seized a pair of scissors with the right, and snip, snap, they were cut off, and the lovely braids lay on the ground. And she was so pitiless that she took poor Rapunzel into a desert, where she had to live in great grief and misery. On the same day she cast out Rapunzel, the enchantress fastened the braids of hair which she had kept onto the hook of the window, and in the evening when the king's son came and cried, Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair, she let the hair down. The king's son ascended, but he did not find his dearest Rapunzel above. But the enchantress, who gazed at him with wicked and venomous looks, Aha! She cried mockingly, you would fetch your dearest, but the beautiful bird sits no longer singing in the nest. The cat has got it, and will scratch out your eyes as well. Rapunzel is lost to you. You will never see her more. The king's son was beside himself with pain, and in his despair he leapt down from the tower. He escaped with his life, but the thorns into which he fell pierced his eyes. Then he wandered quite blind about the forest, ate nothing but roots and berries, and did nothing but lament and weep over the loss of his dearest wife. Thus he roamed about in misery for some years, and at length came to the desert where Rapunzel, with the twins to which she had given birth, a boy and a girl, lived in wretchedness. He heard a voice, and it seemed so familiar to him that he went towards it. When he approached, Rapunzel knew him and embraced him and wept. 2 of her tears wetted his eyes, and they grew clear again, and he could see them with them as before. And he led her to his kingdom, where he was joyfully received, and they lived a long time afterwards, happy and contented. All right. First, Rapunzel is, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure rampion is like green onion.
I don't know that.
I didn't mean literally. I think it's a lot like green onion. Also, the whole time it's like, wow, Rapunzel, this pretty made-up name. No, it's the name of a food that the mom was hungry for. So if it came out a boy, was it going to be Rampion, and if it came out a girl, it was Rapunzel? Like, what's the deal here? Also, her hair just keeps growing. Is that the enchantress's magic, or did the mom eat so much Rampion that she became part plant? Hear me out. And so now her hair grows, not glows, wrong story, like a plant, and that's why it just keeps growing. Like, literally, okay. Okay, I'm sorry, she's an idiot. The princess is like, why are you so heavy? The king's son is not heavy at all. And it's like, did you want to get caught? What was your thought process there? Or lack thereof? What? Like, you were so close. She didn't even notice you making this massive ladder out of silk. And then you go and you say, you done mess up so bad. I have no words for you, Rapunzel. Like, okay, I get you were raised in a tower your whole life, so maybe your intelligence is a little less than because the witch wanted it to be that way. I would explain some things. A lot of things. But, okay, really? Okay, moving on. He just stupid jumped from a tower. And if it's 20 L's down, I don't know how long an L is, but that tower seems pretty high. How did he... Also, she gives birth in the desert. Can we just give props to our good gal Rapunzel here, because giving birth is hard. None that I personally speak from experience, but you hear about how hard it is all the time. And so imagine doing that in a desert when you've literally experienced no hardship in your life before that. Except, losing your love, having your precious haircut. But that's it. She lives in a tower. She's pretty. You can pretty heavily imply or infer that she has not done much physical labor or anything like that. And then she gives birth to twins in the desert, and she's still alive and singing. But if you watch one nondescript fairy tale mashup musical, and you watch the full version, she went a little crazy. Not a little crazy, she went a lot crazy. And that explains some things. Also, okay, she has no basis for naming things. None. Her mom's name is Dame Gothel. She's named after a plant. What are her kids' names? Is anybody else curious? Did she name them Sand and Rock? I don't know. Sandy and Rocky? I don't know. But it's not looking good for those kids, I'm not gonna lie. Also, can we just talk about the reoccurring theme in Grimm fairy tales about the case of mistaken identity? All the time, it's oh, this person I've been coming to see every day, didn't notice their voice was different. This brother I've had my whole life, and then his secret password is said by someone else, didn't notice that. Or, didn't, look up and see, that hair does not look like it's attached to my lovely bride's head. Not just gonna go up it anyways. Can we just... Dear Grimm fairy tale characters, if you could be, 12% more observant, you probably wouldn't die. Just throwing that out there. Okay, so let's talk about balance. Again. Because I talk about that a lot. Because it's a great thing to talk about, especially when our lives are, so unbalanced right now. Ooh. And it's important to do okay. This girl, she's I've lived in a tower my whole life. I know nothing about what the outside world is. For all I know, this man I've married is, secretly an ex-murderer. But... screw that, Dame Gothel, you're old and ugly. I'm gonna go with hot man dude over here. And under the normal circumstances, okay, but let's be real here. Dame Gothel was not 112% evil like she was in a certain unmentionable film based on this fairy tale. She, in that day, it was very much trading goods, and he totally tore up her garden, and just, because his wife said so, and she's really? This is my favorite plant for some reason. Why would you do that? And he's because my wife said so, and she's you know what? I'm having a good day. In exchange, let's do something else you care about, really teach you a lesson. I hope they lived their lives better after that, and, if Rapunzel had any siblings, they were treated much better. And the wife learned to deal with her cravings so that she didn't lose any more children to scary witches in the woods. But that being said, like, she didn't immediately kill the guy. Like, and she cared for the child like her own child. Like, it doesn't say she was mistreated at all. Like, and she was put in a tower to protect her. So that's the point. There's a good fine line between doing everything you want and staying, doing nothing you want because you're scared of everything. Because you want to try new things. You want to do fun, new things, like see that movie, play that video game, talk to new people, go out your front door, and dialectical balance, you need to stay safe and balanced. So let's throw an example out there that's not political or dangerous in any way, except mildly offensive. If you like spicy food, I'm sorry, not my thing. So this is my example. Let's say you grew up in a household where no one ate spicy food ever, and you want to try some spicy food. You see that those nondescript the spicy chips at the store, and you're like, Mom, I want to try those. And so you might have people that are saying, no, don't, it'll kill you, you'll die. And then you'll be like, you know what, fight me. You can't tell me what to do, I'll do it out of spite. You just little rage monster. And then you might have people be like, yeah, whatever, do what you want. I don't care. Just don't go burn some lady's house down. I don't know. Okay. I don't know. What am I even trying to say? That it's important to listen to smarter than you people. And there are people that are smarter than you. Trust me on this one. So listen to those smart people, and it's okay to try new things, as long as you stay safe and all that good stuff. Like, for example, don't get, 40 tattoos on your tongue and all of, that would be bad for, I don't know, throwing random example out there. But, if your mom's, super worried about some roller coaster, it might be okay to try that. Just don't be dumb and do it out of spite and stick your hands up or anything you're not supposed to do. Get permission or, explain to your mom that it's totally safe. I don't know. I'm spiraling. Okay, also, very important thing, explain things to people instead of scaring people into submission. We've all seen the aforementioned nondescript movie based on this fairy tale, and the mom used fear to keep the kid where she was. Because the world is scary, you're gonna die. And so the kid was like, yeah, I'm gonna stay home. But she still wanted to explore, and so then man dude shows up, and attractive man dude shows up, and he's like, hi, I exist. And she's like, okay, but I'm coming with you. And he's like, what? You've lived in a tower your whole life, are you ready for this? And she's like, yep, 100%. What are shoes? I've given too much away. What was I saying? Okay, let me tell you. Kids are smarter than we give them credit for. Do they do dumb stuff because they don't have experience? Yes, but they do have knowledge and intelligence. So if you explain to them in a smart, kind way, for example, wear your seatbelt because it'll keep you safe in case anything bad happens. And it'll keep you in your seat so that nothing bad, Like, the risk of you being, something bad happening to you is way lower. Again, don't scare the kid by being like, if we get in a car accident and you don't have your seatbelt on, you're gonna fly through the windshield and you'll just be, like, dead. And, like, your body will be everywhere. We can't even have a proper funeral because you don't look nice anymore. No, don't. I'm sorry if I totally scared you with that. Wear your seatbelt. And don't scare kids into submission, because, like, most people are like, I can't tell the kid because they're not smart enough to understand or I'll scare them. If you take the time and you're like, no, I care about you and I want you to be safe. And I know that if you wear your seatbelt, you're going to be safe. They'll be like, oh, okay. That's smart. Yeah, I'll wear my seatbelt. What's up? Trying to get out like 8 times out of 10. There's always that one kid who's like, punk. Can't tell me what to do, Mom! In that case, I'm sorry. Okay, but the point is, kids are smart, and they can sense when you really care about them, and so if you're telling them, look, man, I really want you to be safe, because I love you and I care about you, and you, like, give them the surface level explanation, don't, like, go deep dive into, you fly out the windshield, don't do that. Most of the time, they'll be like, yeah, okay, makes sense, cool, dope, so, you know, I'm entirely paraphrasing a child's perspective, because children will not say that, probably, I don't know, I obviously don't have kids in this day and age. Anyways, okay, this has been Grim Advice with Gretta Myers. Thank you for joining us for this happily ever after, or not so happily ever after, that's up to you. Either way, this is the end for this episode, so tune in later to learn more and we can turn a new page.